Hey everyone, I'm Zheng, and I'm a grade 12 here in Brentwood from Privet House. Shout out to Privet House. Yeah. And okay, so when I was chatting with my roommate one night, because we like to have abstruse and deep conversation at 1 a.m., we just came across the question of how different people listen to music. And it just really came as a surprise to me because I'm a musician and I consider this. But for a few of my friends, music does not really go beyond the background noises or just a tool they use to study, to focus, or to do more reps in the gym. While that's completely valid, you can listen to music however you want. It just feels very unsettling as a musician because from my perspective, there is so much out there for you to explore if you just had the time, just taking out the time and rethink about what it is and what it's all about. Well, the truth is, ever since, because music has been a thing since like the dawn of humanity, how we perceive music has always been different and changing. So it's better if I just show you. So let's take it back a couple thousand years. Our string quartet is going to play a piece called Hurrienheim No. 6, which is transcribed from this thing from around 3,000 years ago, and this is the earliest surviving piece of music. So compared to our music today, harmony back in the day was pretty simple, and there aren't too much movement to it. You know, this probably won't be charting top 100 Billboard today, but back in the old days, would have been a banger. And you know, because after all, it's a hymn, it's a prayer, and there's a deeper meaning to it. And it was a way for people to show their devotion, in this case, to their goddess, Nicole. And this would have been performed by human voices, which is certainly the most powerful music instrument there is. And to the people who were singing and listening to this music, it just provided them with, you know, spiritual comfort. And that was music in the very beginning. It weaved communities together, you know, through the worship of some sort of God. And that really continued for a very long time because church, the Catholic Church, I guess, in our Western history, has been a very significant element. And very up until the 18th century, that's how things were, very church-based. And do you guys know this guy? Maybe? Yeah, you probably do. Well, for most of his life, he actually composed for the church. Thank you. And there aren't really ways of talking about music without talking about Bach, because most of the basics and foundations of what we have in music theory today is based on how he composed. And in my theory class, I was constantly asked to compose harmony in the style of 18th century European composers. Yeah. And to most people, Bach's sound is probably the signature sound of classical music. It's the first thing that you would think of when I tell you, you know, classical music. So take this fugue of Bach's and remember the first melody. It's the theme of this piece. And if you would like, you can close your eyes. So fugues are a music form where four verses are present. And if you listen close enough, each voice has their own melody and they come together to make a collective harmony. And now that's very hard to do, harmonizing four different distinctive melodies, because usually if one voice shines through, the other ones have to back up and support that voice. But Bach clearly did not care at all, because he really wanted it all. And through a very mathematical and symmetrical approach to music, every voice is needed here and cannot be absent, because it's all of them coming together to make this collective harmony. Okay. Anyway, his music was very confident and developed. It's very structured and algorithmically produced, like a bunch of puzzle pieces. It's okay. Okay. Imagine writing a 500-word essay while making a palindrome, while not using the letter E with absolutely no errors in the syntax. I mean, to musicians, that's what he was doing. And today, a lot of people have the ability to compose in the harmonic style of Bach, but at the time, 300 years ago, that was very, very revolutionary. There are very distinctive directions in where it's going, and it pushes to that direction, that destination, step by step. And before him, music did not really specify harmonic progressions or chord progressions, because people only cared about the beginning and the end, but not everything in between. But he was very specific about which chord he used. There are tension and then release, climax and anticlimax. He masterfully used those harmonies to express and articulate emotions. But his music in many ways aligned with the common church-based ideology of his time. You know, the idea of perfect harmony in the musical and the metaphorical way. His theme is often faith, devotion, and although there is so much emotional depth to it, it was really only after his death that people associate harmonies with romantic notations and expression, because to him, the harmonies are simply notes going where they wanted to go, according to the rule of the universe that was determined by the only God. And so through our lenses as people of the modern age, we can hear probably way more than Bach, because we hear all these emotions and expressions in music that he himself probably did not really think about. And that's because we think music very differently than people of 18th century, you know, on a very foundational level. Because on a very foundational level, we just think of music very differently Bach, because we have all those personal experience and emotions that we connect to the harmony. And also, you know, we don't just listen to music and think, oh, God. But, you know, in reality, at its roots, music in itself, at its rawest form, is very intertwined with religion. And when did that change? Whoa. So, the year is 1888 when this piece of music was written, and it was a very confusing and changing period in our history. And this painting was also painted in the same year as this music, and the painting borrowed its style from Impressionist artworks, such as these ones. where lines are blurred, colors are exaggerated, and it invites you to an unrealistic world beyond ours. And it captures a mundane moment that you otherwise would never notice. It gives you an impression, hence the name. And these paintings were rebellious because you really rejected the established style of art, of paintings. Which is exactly what this piece, Je me fais number 1 by Eric Satie did, because it essentially rejected everything that Bach established in traditional music. He used chords that Bach probably being way too scared to use, chords that are quite unstable. We call them seventh chord, and because the presence of an extra seventh, particularly the major seventh, the chords are hesitate to go really anywhere. The harmony is very confused, and there are no definite destination to this harmony. It throws you into a world of reflections and introspection, and the hard edges of harmony is softened, and it really brings out the thought that you just have when you're showering alone late at night, 12 a.m. And the melody is a single line floating on top of everything. And it moves back and forth like ocean waves while the rhythm is sustained and floats through time. There's a constant debating and anxious undertone, and this harmony is based around your feeling as an audience member. Its aim was just to provoke and give impression of a feeling. And Satie intended this piece to be very simple, and he very cleverly included you in his harmony. Thank you. That was really pretty. So Satie, he thought of harmony in a very different way because, definitely different than Bach. He thought of it on very personal terms. And the music, the harmony was intended for you instead of that other guy up there. So let me introduce you to another piece of music. And this is called Bolero by Ravel. And it's composed about 40 years after Satie. Yeah. So the piece starts with a rhythmic pattern played by the snare drum, and then a harmonic rhythm, a very simple tension and release. And the two repeats and continues throughout until the very end of the piece. And the melody sits at the top of everything and repeats and circulates every 8 bars. And that's basically it. The entirety of Bolero, and there are no more harmonic, rhythmic changes. And the original version will go on and continue for about 15-ish minutes. But, there are way more to it than you probably think. To many people, it sounds very powerful, exotic, with all its blue and jazzy notes in the melody. But to a lot of people who have listened to this piece, And me, personally, it sounds very daunting and scary, as if the music trapped me in the forever repeating space with something lurking in the background. And to Ravel, it might have also meant something completely different, because while he was composing this piece, Ravel suffered from dementia and deteriorating condition of his brain and basic motor skills. And before his death, he lost the ability to write, comprehend language, and compose. And many evidence suggested that his symptoms started to worsen as he was writing this piece. And Bolero, through its repetitive nature, in a sense, reflects that. The obsessive, rhythm, hypnotic, and hallucinating repetitive theme and the slowly rising dynamics, almost constantly reminding him of something that he must not forget. And the beautiful melody slowly rises, becomes more and more aggressive, letting out all its frustration. Bolero communicated the dark side and the struggle of Ravel's life. And he done it without any harmonic progressions. He did it cleverly, using musical structure and tone and how each phrase is spoken. He essentially created a new way to communicate, not through literal meaning of the chord, but perhaps by the absence of it. And through a disarmingly simple harmony, Ravel told a story, and we may just get a better glimpse of that by understanding what happened in real life and connecting that to our own personal experience. Because for me, when I first learned about this, it really just changed how I see music. You know, because for me, it made me have an out-of-body experience, and I feel like that guy. I was just, flabbergasted because of the psychotic qualities all this harmony and structure have. And I would highly recommend everyone here, if you have the time, to listen to the full 15 minutes of Bolero just to get that feeling. So, looking back at today, of all the pieces that you have listened today, and each time the composer used harmony to tell a story in very different and creative ways. The Herrenheim told a story using the rawest form of devotion, and Bach through intricate calculations, and Satie through the meticulous choice of chords and phrasing, and finally Ravel, you just heard, through, in my opinion, perspective. But these are just 4 examples out of the millions pieces that we as humans have composed. And each piece of those music, the composer intended it to have some sort of meaning. So, there are so many pieces for you out there to discover. And next time, if you try to listen to music with a slightly different attitude, you can always find more stories and perspective and ways of the composer trying to tell a story, if you just have taken out the time and just to, listen to it and think about what it is. And thank you for coming to my tech talk. How was it? Oh, wait, hold up. Okay, 1. Okay, thank you guys.